We're not against rap. We're not against rappers. But we are against those.
Something big about to happen. I hear the beat tapping. We some fly rhyming felines rapping on the track. Better yet, grab a gat, cause we hot like Enzo. Doors closed, windows up, cause that's the way we like to ride. Windy City hitting. Check mic 1 2 1 2. We live, baby. Yo, what's up, Chicago? And welcome back to Speak Your Mind Radio, episode 634, season 18. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Queen Star, aka Ms. Hip Hop. And today, y'all, we have a very special guest in the house because I'm in my house today. And he is all the way from South Africa, to be more specific, Nigeria, you guys, okay? And he is an MC, a writer, and a hip-hop creative. And he's here to discuss his newly released single called Heartfelt, featuring Mudgy. So without further ado, bringing up next to the mic, the one and the only, the Uzee The Bovvaking. What's up, Uzee?
Man, what's up, sis? Much love. It's such a pleasure to be doing this with you, honestly, man. And I just want to make a correction. I'm actually from West Africa. You said South. Yeah, West Africa, Nigeria.
Oh, yeah. Okay, West Africa.
Yeah, West Africa.
Got it.
But it's a pleasure to be doing this with you, man. A fan of the show. Love your work. You're very good at what you do, man. So definitely, man, I'm glad to be doing this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you too, brother. Before we get started, I want to compliment you on your jersey. Is that a Lakers jersey?
Yeah. Kobe.
Rest
in peace, yeah.
Rest in peace, for sure. I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, so as you know, we do a traditional icebreaker question for all the artists, so let's get started.
Yeah.
Tell us the origin behind the name Uzee The Bovvaking.
Yeah, the name Uzee was a mispronunciation of my original name. Then the Bovvaking, the Bova was a name that one of my brothers kind of like created, but I put the born of virtuous and victorious attributes to it, because he created it out of something else, and it was just a name he just used to use around. But I took the name, and it stuck with me over years. And the bond of virtuous and victorious attributes is basically like what I want to represent, or what I see myself as. You understand? And that's why I attached that to the name, because that's what I believe I'm moving towards. You understand? So the Uzee was, my real name is Usman. You understand? That's my government name, and I don't know if I should be saying this. There's a name they used to like call me at home when I was like little, and also people still call me the name. It was out of the Usman. You understand? It's Usmi. You dig? So I was telling somebody earlier when I was younger, he was asking me for my name, and I was telling him that was my name. And he said, "What? Uzee? Uzee." So that's how the Uzee stuck to me. It was just like a mispronunciation of my original name. Then the Bovvaking came later. Yet, I hope that answers the question well enough.
No. That was to the T. Very detailed. Yeah. And as I will put it, the universe already kind of broke the ice for us, because we were having complications with the video and the sound, But that's good, though. Just like the universe brought you your name, because that is a unique name and nobody else has it, Yeah. Okay. So I got to ask you, what inspired you to start making hip-hop music in Nigeria?
Man, hip-hop hit me, man. Since I was hip-hop hit me as a child. It's hard. It was hard not to fall in love with hip-hop at that point in time. I was surrounded by it. My older brothers always, they had a lot of tapes. Used to make a lot of tapes. and used to buy a lot of CDs. So I was surrounded by music from the South, and I was surrounded by East Coast music and conscious music at the same time. No Limit, Cash Money at the same time. Lyricist Lounge, the whole Mos Def, Common, Kwali, and all that. From a young age, and even on TV, there was just this counter, shall I say, counterculture element that made me fall in love with hip hop, knowing that, because fitting in is not really my thing. So hip hop was kind of like that safe space for me. I just, society and all society has is just very strange to me. I never understood it as a child. At this age I'm at, I still don't really understand it. So hip hop has always been that kind of like refuge for me since I was a child till now. You dig? So it was just, it's hard not to have fallen in love with hip hop the way I did. A lot of people over here did too. A lot of people over here, because hip hop, took it, to places I'm sure it never even intended to reach. You understand? But it's a force, and I know, like, just hearing people express themselves the way they did, the storytelling, everything, man. Like, wow. I love hip hop, man. Like, I love, yeah, I love hip hop, man. So it was hard for me not to just do what I'm doing right now, because it had so much influence over me. Yeah.
That's beautiful. You mentioned that your brothers, they were involved in hip hop too. Do they still rap?
No, not no, they don't still rap. They don't still rap. But it was majorly, from the consumption side, and yeah, they rapped a little, but just, almost everybody that listens to hip hop at some point in time raps, just, you get. So yeah, they did, but it was more from the consumption side. They had a lot of tapes, as I said, and so they were fans. They're still fans, though they have different tastes. That's the the beautiful thing about it, But yeah.
Okay. Whoa. They said we're gonna end this meeting in 10 minutes. Get the heck out of here.
Wow.
Okay, look. Even if we have to do a part 2, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
What was I gonna ask you? Oh yeah. So tell me your recording process. Like, how do you do that? Do you like record at home, or do you go to a studio? What do you do?
Yeah, I have my hookup at home, and I was taught how to record by myself, because I didn't start recording by myself. I had somebody who always used to record me at a point in time, and he taught me basically everything I know about mixing, even though I still educate myself and all that. But of recent, it's just basically me. I used to record with a lot of people before, even people that weren't involved in the music will just be there, But now I just feel at this point in my life, I don't know about tomorrow or any other day, but I'll just prefer to be locked in with everybody that is involved in the song, to be in the studio, just us, and basically, man, taking our time with it, and not being too structured about the process, because at the end of the day, when I start something, I never know how it's going to end.
Wow.
But I always just start it. Sometimes I don't even necessarily always know what the song is about sometimes till I'm at like the 8th bar. Then, from there I now structure it. But it's just mostly about, for a lack of better words, let me say, allowing the spirit to lead. That's just basically what it's about, allowing the spirit to lead. And every word I write, when I'm performing, when I'm recording and rapping it out, it has to feel good to me. If it doesn't feel good to me, I'm done with it. It just has to feel good. I have to know that, okay, yes, this is it. There's just that feeling I can't like fully articulate, but that's how it feels, and even from my creative process, it teaches me a lot about life in the sense that you don't always have it figured out. You let life lead, and because that's how it is with me when I'm making music. I just let it lead. I don't always have like a structured title or this is what it's going to be about when I start, but I just start, and from there it goes on.
Dang, you just I feel like you just explained to me the truth behind manifestation, because when you think about something constantly, you're thinking about the outcome. You're supposed to let that go so it can transpire. And damn, you said that good. Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt.
I gotta ask you, like, why do you like using boom bap beats so much? I mean, they stick well with your voice, but I just want to know, why do you like it so much?
You know, to answer that question, I didn't always start with boom bap. That's the funny thing. I didn't always start with boom bap, because even as a kid, I was more of a No Limit fan as a kid. Yeah, I was more of a Master P fan as a kid. Sometimes, when I'm with like some real hip hop heads, I don't see it. I'm not going to lie, because some hip hop heads can be very like, no, but for real, like I grew when I was, when I started growing up and becoming more self-aware about my, self and all that, and I was drawn towards a lot of more New Yorkish, rap. There was just something about it that really hit me. Growing up, I became a fan of Wu-Tang, Smith and Wesson, you know, that sound is just so beautiful. I
Mm.
believe that sound is just so beautiful. I don't know if it's the mixture of jazz, funk, because it draws from other genres of music, and there's a way that it blends it seamlessly to like create a sound on its own. A lot of people try to like down talk boom bap, like it doesn't take much, and I'm like, nah, man, because if you really, you really enjoy listening to music, if you listen to jazz, you listen to jazz, you kind of like hear some boom bapish in jazz, and that's because boom bap draws from jazz. You
Mm.
understand? So there's just like this whole um there's this sound it has that is is greedy, it's soulful at the same time, it's hard, it gets you in there at the same time, so boom bap is just and the funny thing is, even as a kid, even when I was, as a kid with all my interests, knowing that I wanted to rap, I knew that it had to be boom bap. Like subconsciously, I knew that if I want to rap, it has to be this is this, and I'm not trying to box boom bap as the only real hip hop. Like say no, that because that's real hip hop. Real hip hop comes in every form it comes in, as long as it's real. As long as the person does it with respect to the hip hop culture itself and all that. But for me, boom bap beats. There's just you can explore so much with it. See what Griselda did with it. See what West Side Gun did with it. In my opinion, he kind of like pushed the no, Rock Marciano. Let me, Rock Marciano kind
Mm.
of like pushed the envelope forward. West Side Gun too has his role to play, but the person that kind of like brought it back in like 2010s, Rock Marciano, who is a huge inspiration for me. He's also a very dope producer, and what he has done to like the sound itself is magnificent. Like so, boom bap. There's something about it that it's just it's just it just hits you hard, man. So and it's not like I can't do any other thing, or I don't like any other form of hip hop music. It's not that. It's just that for the most part, that's what I'm drawn towards. So yeah.
That makes sense. I didn't really think of it as it boom bap being pulled from like jazz and funk, and all those things
Yeah,
combined. But it does make sense when I listen to it with my ear.
yeah,
Um, I think I should stop here so we don't go
okay,
over and so we can do a part
yeah,
two because we got to get
no
into the
doubt,
music, brother.
no doubt, man, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt.
Okay, so thank you,
Yeah,
Chicago and Nigeria, for tuning
yeah,
in and stay tuned for part two, okay? All right.
yeah, yeah.
Peace.
Peace.